Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Today's topic is about the charities or the Sadaqat according to the Quran. In traditional Islam, we are told that there are two types of charities. The first one is the Zakah, which they consider as an obligatory charity. And the second one is the Sadaqat, which they consider to be a voluntary charity. And although in this video we are specifically going to talk about Sadaqat, I would like to briefly recap what Zakat is according to the Quran. Please note, I've already made a video about the concept of Zakat, and I encourage you to watch that video as well. Here we're going to briefly do a recap about Zakat and then delve into the Sadaqat. Let's begin. So as noted in the previous slide, I've already made a video about Zakat and I encourage you to watch that video. Here in this slide, we're going to briefly do a recap of what Zakat is according to the Quran. The word Zakat means augmentation. It's a type of growth in purity. And according to the Quran, zakat can be obtained in a variety of ways. It is not limited to just a charity as they claim. For example, if we go to Surah 87, verses 9 through 15, it says, "So remind, perhaps the reminder will help. He who is concerned will remember, and he who is wicked will avoid it. He will enter the great fire, then he will neither die in it nor live. Certainly happiness to whoever tazakka and remembers the name of his Lord, so he adhered." What we're going to do is simply take the context into perspective. Here God is talking specifically about a person who is going to heed the reminder of God, and as a consequence, they will tazakka. As such, one way of obtaining zakah is to heed the reminder. We can also see the same thing in Surah 79. "Go to Pharaoh, for he transgressed. Tell him, would you not tazakka?" So zakah can be understood in this context is about believing in God and or accepting the message of God. Another verse is Surah 20, verses 75 through 76. "And he who comes to him as a believer doing good works, for those will be the highest ranks, gardens of delight with rivers flowing beneath them, abiding therein. Such is the reward of he who tazakka." So as a consequence of the zakah here is believing in God and doing good works. Another verse, Surah 35, verse 18. "You will only be able to warn those who are concerned toward their Lord while unseen, and they uphold the adherence, the salah, and whoever tazakka, he yatazakka for himself." So again, we're seeing a consequence of zakah here by being concerned toward their Lord while unseen, and they uphold the salah. So upholding the salah also contributes to the zakah. Then we go to Surah 24, verse 21. "O you who believe, do not follow the footsteps of the devil, and whoever follows the footsteps of the devil should know that he advocates immorality and vice. And had it not been for the grace of God upon you and his mercy, not one of you would have ever been zakah, but God yuzakki whom he wishes." So zakah in this context simply indicates the opposite of following the footsteps of the devil, promoting goodness. Then we see in Surah 9, "Take from their money a charity, a sadaqatan, to purify them and to zakki them with it." So again, the consequence of zakah here is to give the sadaqat, the charities. So again, giving to charity is only one aspect of zakah. And as we can see this list, obtaining zakah can be achieved in a variety of ways. And I noted in that video that zakah is simply an umbrella term indicating any means of doing good works or righteous works. This was the conclusion that I provided in that video. Interestingly, Some people have responded to this conclusion by quoting Surah 21, verse 73. And they said that it's impossible that zakah is basically doing righteous works, because if we go to Surah 21, verse 73, we see that God inspired Abraham to do good works and also give zakah. This means that doing good works and giving the zakah are two separate, independent things. This was their response or their conclusion. Unfortunately, this is an erroneous conclusion. First of all, any person who makes this type of claim is really shooting themselves in the foot. Are they saying that doing good works does not entail upholding the salah as well? So if you're saying that you're upholding the salah, that means you're not doing good works? Of course, upholding the salah entails doing good works, and bringing forth the zakah also entails doing good works. Secondly, any person who is or has been studying the Quran will know that very often God will usually use inclusive statements. And what I mean by this, an inclusive statement, is that sometimes when he lists things, he can go from general to specific or specific to general. So doing good works here can involve also upholding the salah, and it also can involve the zakah. It's inclusive to it. Let's take some examples from the Quran of inclusive statements. Surah 24, verse 37. It says, by men not distracted by trade or sale from the remembrance of God and upholding the salah and bringing forth the zakah. So we know that upholding the salah entails remembering God, and bringing forth the zakah also entails remembering God. They are not two independent or separate things. They are inclusive. We go to Surah 33, verse 7. It says, we took from the prophets their covenant, and from you, Muhammad, and from Noah and Abraham. So again, God generalizes. He says prophets, then he specifies Muhammad, Noah, and Abraham. So these are inclusive statements. Finally, Surah 55, verse 66. In them are fruits and date palms and pomegranate. So again, from general to specific. So as we can see, someone making a claim that doing good works is not the same as bringing forth the zakah, well, unfortunately, as we can see from the Quran and the language of the Quran, this is not the case. At any rate, this is what the zakah is according to the Quran. It's an umbrella term, and it involves, and it's not limited to giving to charity. Any means of doing righteous works that contributes to yourself and to society is a form of augmentation or zakah. Now, with all this being said, let's continue and delve into the topic of sadaqat. So let's begin by defining the word sadaqat. It comes from the root sadaqa, which means truth. And in the Quranic context, and based off of the different forms of this root, the word sadaqah can be used in the sense of friendship, like in Surah 24, verse 62, because the friend represents the truth of the relationship. It could also be used in the sense to confirm something, in the sense that the Quran, for example, confirms, it brings out the truth found in the previous scriptures. And of course, it signifies charities because you are demonstrating the truth of your belief system. But what's interesting is that sadaqat needs to be understood in conjunction with another important key word, and that word is infaq. Infaq comes from the root nafaqa. Nafaqa means a tunnel or percolation in the ground reaching another location or a specific location. And in the Quran, the word tunnel is used, nafaqah is used in Surah 6 verse 35. And we can also see that God calls the hypocrites as munafiqun or munafiqeen, like in Surah 63 verse 1. And this is because a munafiq, a hypocrite, is a person who represents himself in one way, but his truth is percolated in another direction. Okay, so he is basically hiding his true belief system. That's why he is a hypocrite. And of course, infaq is used in the context of spending because you are reaching out from one direction to another. And please note that the word sadaqat and infaq are both used in the same verse in Surah 2 verse 264. This indicates that both of these terms really go hand in hand, and they must be understood in conjunction with each other. So let's take a look at Surah 2 verse 264 really quick. O you who believe, do not nullify your sadaqat with insult and harm, like the one who yunfiqu spends his money in vanity to show off to the people, and he does not believe in God and the last day. So note here how there is a keyword shift between the word sadaqat and infaq. Sadaqat in the sense of charities and infaq in the sense of spending. What this teaches us is that the sadaqat are a charity that demonstrates truth per the Quranic guidance, whereas infaq is the general concept of spending. So as we can see, both of these terms go hand in hand, and this is extremely important for us to understand. Sadaqat and infaq go hand in hand. What's interesting is that we will not, and I repeat, we will not find the term infaq associated with the word zakah. Okay, we see it associated with sadaqat, but not with zakah, which again teaches us and tells us that zakah is not exclusive to the infaq as they claim. So now I would like to share with you some verses which demonstrate for us how infaq and sadaqat go hand in hand. And again, this is an important concept to grasp. We go to Surah 63 verse 10. And give, anfiqu. This is an imperative verb. Anfiqu, from that which we have provided to you before death comes to one of you. Then he says, my Lord, if only you could delay this for a short while, I would then be charitable, as-saddaqah, and join the righteous. Notice again the association between these two key words. We'll go to Surah 9 verse 53. Say, spend, anfiqu, willingly or unwillingly. It will not be accepted from you. You are a wicked people. And what prevented what they would spend, nafaqatuhum, from being accepted from them, except that they rejected God and His Messenger? And from them are those who criticize you regarding the charities, the sadaqat. Again, we are seeing a strong association between these two key terms. We go to Surah 2 verse 270. And whatever you spend, anfaqtum, out of your monies or whatever you pledge as a promise, then God knows it. The wicked have no supporters. If you openly give the sadaqat, then it is acceptable. But if you conceal them and give them to the poor, then that is better for you. So again, we're just simply showing how the word infaq and sadaqat go hand in hand. We again do not see this association with the term zakah.